Welcome, everyone. Thank you, Selma, for being here.
Thank you.
Um, so I will introduce myself. I introduce the project that we are here, the podcast today, and then you'll be introduced. So my name is Geraldin Boy. I was born in Argentina. I moved to Israel when I was 8 years old. Then my husband moved to PNG to work here. And then we came along with him, me and my four sons after COVID. And we were here for 1 year. And then we moved to Singapore and he's coming to go, still work here. And I'm a special education and well-being consultant. This is my profession. And the goal here and the podcast is for me, and my passion is to empower women. And this is something that I really wanted to do for a long time. And this is like a dream come true for me to do this interviews and help the other ladies, other women around the world to bring this light and maybe inspiration for them. So thank you. Thank you for being a part in this journey. Thank you for inviting me. It's your stage now. Please introduce yourself.
First of all, thank you for having me be part of this women empowerment talk. I think it's a very important topic in the world today. So thank you so much for having me participate in it.
Thank you.
My name is Selma. I come from a parentage of Manus and Mississippi. So those are the two provinces up in the north. I have a background. I grew up back home in the village. Because of education, I moved to Port Moresby and I have a background in scientific profession.
And you moved by yourself? Your family is still there in the province?
No, my family, I moved because of school. So I came to the university. And then my family also, some of them moved because of university, and my parents is all moved out. So they basically, one is a mechanical engineer, works at the mine. My mom is one of the development specialists in a company.
Oh, wow, amazing. So they believe that education is something that it's important to invest in business.
Yes, I believe so. I wouldn't say that education is really something that everyone should have, but you should, in a sense that everyone should be educated to be clear about, the world around us. You can't know the world if you're not educated. So I would say that yes, education plays a part in shaping your life and how you operate in this
world. Mm. And you got the chance to decide what you want to study?
At a very early age, because I grew up in the village, one was just surrounded by water. I fell in love with water. So I lived by the ocean. The ocean was basically my playground. So when I grew up, I never thought about it, but somehow I was attracted to working in the water. But it never dawned to me because when I was schooling, I didn't really have much flexibility to be in the water. But when I came to university, then I went straight into science and I streamed into marine science. So it was something that was part of my life. So yes,
it was natural to go.
It was very, very natural. So it was funny because when I did a TED talk, not TED talk, my apologies. When I did a public speaking, I was invited, and that was something I shared about water. It was funny that the very thing that I grew up with, used to have the sea as my playground, became the very thing that I started being educated in the science. Like for example, sea cucumbers is a basic thing that you go on the reefs, you play with it. Now it's something I'm farming into that. So it's surprising how life tends to do the same thing again.
Wow. Would you like to share about your childhood? Very unique.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, like I said, I grew up back home. My parents basically, one was a journalist The other one was a mechanical engineer, so working in the mines. But back home, when I grew up, it was just basic. That I would say that was one of the best things my parents did to me and my siblings by letting us grow up in the village. Because we got to see the life in a very different way. We got to experience, we know how to fish, we know how to garden, we know how to, go in the night and catch crabs, you name it. My siblings and I, you can see them in offices now writing policies, but this is what we grew up. We can go back right into it. So yeah, I think that's one of the beauty about for my childhood growing up in the village.
In the nature.
In nature, correct.
Wow.
So yeah, it was interesting. And my mom comes from ECP, which is it's a different province from Manus. So that province, we grew up in two different villages, and we got to experience a little bit of both. So in my mom's village, I grew up to we started doing coffee. My grandfather taught us how to collect coffee, dry coffee, collect cocoa. Um, Apart from that, the coconut wasn't really one of the products that we were doing, but it was cocoa and coffee. So we grew up in my mother's village doing very different things to what we grew up in my dad's village, which is next to the ocean. So my mom's village was basically helping my grandfather collect coffee, collect cocoa, um, doing things like back home we had the sago leaf that we make the roof of the house. So we grew up learning how to do that as well, do gardening and a lot of these things. In Manus, we grew up learning how to fish and things like that. So a little bit of both worlds of the experience, which is, I think, was important for me and my siblings because it really, really shaped how we we are as an adult.
Wow, amazing. So it's all the nature and how to live, how um, to build stuff. Then you got to take it to your own career, your own study, your own life. So it was like nature and very natural to make it.
Correct. Yeah. And I do really believe that a lot of things in life are connected. So yeah, you just have to find a place in.
So this connection was very natural for you to study, and this is something that helped you to in your career. How was your first job, your first step in career life?
Um, so my first job would be when I was still in high school. So different. My first job after university,
Yeah.
my first job when I was still in high school. Very, very good exposure. The first job I had was working in a shop, lining goods to the shelves on the shop, cleaning, mopping, all these things. So um, that experience was important in life as well because it really, I was paid, I think, 60 or 80 kina a fortnight. That was my best pay.
Yeah.
Yes.
And why did you go to work at that time?
Basically, my mom wanted us to have exposure. So her best friend was managing one of the big supermarkets in Manus. So she said, all you kids have to be exposed. So when we were still, just 12, 13, 14 years old, just going into the shops, learning how to, work with people. So it was basically my mom, putting us out there to experience work life, also just connection and building.
And you liked it?
I did. It was interesting because I didn't just work when they asked me, okay, this is your job. I made sure that I finish my job quickly and then I check who else needs work. So it was just continuously working, finding out who needed help. And yeah, people at the shop really, when you're young and you're energetic, people's like, okay, here, come, do this, do this. So it was just a bit of, so yeah, working in the shops, then I work at the Kaiba, washing washing plates after people eat and all. So yeah,
It's a good experience for a
yes,
young girl.
yes, I enjoyed it.
And also it helps you understand what you want to be when you grow up,
Correct. Yeah.
what you want to be when you be an adult.
Correct.
And it helps you to decide what you're going to be.
Yes, and I think also it helped me understand work life, like how work is going on time, being on time, helping others, doing what you can do to make work easy for everyone.
Mhm. And so then you decided to study science.
Yes, and then when I went to university, I can't even remember, but it was weird because I did apply for uni, but I can't really remember. Oh, I took science when I was in 11, 12.
Ah,
So the class was in, you have to be like a top certain percentage in a mess because we had to shift into one class, and that was basically science, so physics, biology, chemistry. So from there, I just went and applied for university.
so this is something that help you to understand and they push you go to uni.
Correct. Yeah. Correct.
Well, so one step it to another and help you to get to this role of innovative agro.
Correct. Correct. That's right.
And what did you like about this role in innovative agro?
Well, first and foremost, I think out of my whole career path, this would be the most exciting part in my entire job. This particular one that I've worked with, PNG Sustainable Carbon and Innovative Agro. And the reason I'm saying this is because we started doing some things in this country that are first inventions. Classic example was, doing, even though I was a marine scientist, because I was working on the project, I was involved in, solar, the water, assisting the management, Luda and John back then STP, to see how we can work with the different departments to implement what we're doing. So I would say that part of my career, which I started off with innovative and STP, was one of the exciting times in my career.
Wow. What was the new for you when you saw all these things?
Now, what was
New. You said that there were new, maybe technologies or
correct, correct, yeah. So technologies, a lot of them were new. Like for instance, there was already things like solar, water, but at a very smaller scale. And another thing is, we were doing it in a larger scale. We're not doing it just for internal consumption. We were doing it to also assist the community. So for us, it was new in the sense that the different departments in the country didn't have policies for running such a thing. So it was really, really good to, get our head around it, not just water and power, also fishery. When we're doing aquaculture, you do have people that are working on aquaculture and fisheries or basically aquaculture in the country, but not at that huge, large scale that we were doing. So the country didn't have things like the aquaculture policy. So basically, you're going to run something in the country that has to be some management plan to govern. So they only had things like the wild caught management for tuna, sea cucumbers. It was wild caught. When we were venturing into aquaculture, they didn't really have management plans surrounding it. So we were the first facility in the country to lead the way. So I'm trying to create, policies to govern the work that we were doing.
Amazing, amazing. And if we go back to in this project, in these new things that you see, um, how they got in the women in the job, you and the other ladies that were there.
So women, one of the challenges I don't think just PNG, but around the world, it's like a not really something that's said aloud, but a lot of times men would be more the dominant figure in a lot of things. So sometimes women, some of us mistaken that um, well, if man is doing it intentionally, then that's wrong. But sometimes it's just by default. As a man, that's how they act, more powerful, more protective. But women, it's important that you find your place within that area that you're working. You have to find your worth in it. And once you find that, then because you bring a different perspective to the table. Women and men um, were wired to think very differently. And that's the beauty about working with women and men together. We can see something, but I will think differently than a man. And it's the way I'm wired as a woman. And men will be, how he thinks as well. So I think that the beauty of working, like I said, it is a challenging because it's an unsaid thing that a lot of times men will be the one dominating, a lot of things in speeches and things, but women are important as well in your home, on that, in anything that we do, and I think that's what us as women have to realize.
Um, So you're saying we have a role, we have a room in the table.
Yeah, of course we do. Yes, we do. We do. We do play an important part in any development, whether it's just in your house or outside.
Is there something that you think we should improve in this career way of life? Is there something that you think that the woman needs to improve?
Yeah, I think I did explain it a little bit. I think as a woman, we just have to be aware that some of these things, like when a man acts, sometimes it's just by default that men feel very dominant to act in that way. But we have to be aware that that is, if, like I said, if he intentionally means it, then that's wrong. But if he doesn't, you have to, don't take it too personal because that's the way a man is wired to think. But if he intentionally does it, and it will be shifted more into more of a bullying thing, then that's an issue. But as a woman, you as a human need to be aware of the other species, the opposite sex, which is the man, how he thinks, how he what. But like I said, if you feel uncomfortable, you need to voice it out. So as a woman, you're like, okay, I feel that the way I was approached in this would fall. Because as humans, we all have to, sometimes people just do what they do. And it's important that we are open, we communicate, and that's how we make and we can work effectively together.
Amazing. So you're saying that the woman should speak out loud, maybe, when she feels that she's not being appreciated or something.
Um, I think the terminology that we should be using is a woman should be, say things that, but you also have to be emotionally intelligent to know what to say as well. Yeah. Sometimes we, not just female, but even male, that we have this attitude that, I have the right to speak my mind. And that's something that I think that's really ruining society these days because you need to really know when you can speak and when you cannot speak. And I think if, like a woman, yes, you can speak, but you need to, okay, this is, and when you speak also, you have to speak in a way that someone would learn what you're saying and not someone would be feeling um, attacked. So it's like very, very different. So it's a skill that as a woman, we need to learn about it. And yes, we need to speak up, but you need to really understand because sometimes I feel that we can confuse speaking out to mean that you can just say anything you want. There's some things that it's not really necessary to say.
If I take what you are saying, so first of all, you're saying to be aware. Okay, the woman should be more aware of their place, of their role, even though the men have their own way of thinking, of active to be. Uh, his approach is different from women. So first of all, to be aware of the differences and how we as a woman are. And another thing you're saying is to not you're not agree to speak out loud. You're saying to want to continue. You're saying about as I understand, message me, okay, to talk about me, about myself, like not to criticize the other person, not to say to him, to educate, let's say, the other person, more to talk about what is going on for me, what happened with me. And sometimes maybe I will keep it to myself and not share it to the world. Maybe just to understand that something is happening with me and I realize that it's something that I don't like, I don't want, and I'm keeping it. But if I want to share it, that it's very important sometimes to share it with a perspective that you talk about yourself. I feel uncomfortable in this and this. I would like to improve this and this, but not to criticize the other person, not to say, "Oh, you're the blame. You're the one that." Because when you're fighting, you're going in this place. It's not improving. You're not going to any. So I said to shut up, to talk out loud because I'm seeing the women that even they don't go to this place. They don't talk even to their self and just quiet be quiet there and it's take for them very huge process even to talk to say it but you are saying yes say it but in a way that helps you.
Correct. Yeah. So very, very diplomatic. And I think one of the things as well, if you like psychology, you will understand that women will say things, but they can't repeat it over and over. Like they come to a point that their brain just switch off if they don't want. So we have to understand that as well. So we have to encourage women to speak up within, and we have to teach men and other women as well to learn that when someone speaks something, take it quickly, because when you don't respond to them, thinking that it was just something they're talking, once they go into that stage that don't want to talk anymore, it's just it's quiet, and then you see people just walk off.
Yes, they don't have patience.
Yeah, so this is something that we as humans need to manage. We need to understand that okay, if someone is saying this, first time maybe you just slip away. Second time, you're like, okay, that is something I have to look into. Because as women, people don't like, especially women, they will say things, but then they're like, they won't repeat themselves. And they just switch it off in their brain. And that's it. All of a sudden, they just see this woman is, where is she? She's gone. I was like, no, what happened? It was there before. So I think awareness is so important in life.
Yeah, communication. We're talking about how to communicate. It's very, very important. It's one of the key relationships.
And I think another thing is also when we work as women, one of the things I see is we have to encourage other women as well, because not all women have the confidence to speak up.
Yeah.
So in order to manage it, we have to create different ways of, different activities or something that women can feel open to speak up. Because obviously you would understand, our colleagues would understand that certain people only can speak up and not everyone. And that doesn't mean that we just leave them like that. It is our duty as other women to support them by creating avenues that they can speak up, they can And it would be funny that you would be surprised that you've been working with someone for 5 years and you didn't understand something. And when they speak up, you're like, wow. So, yeah. So we women, we really need to be there for each other.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's something that I really love, the partnership and sisterhood.
Yeah.
So can you give one tool to this women that are listening and hearing us, uh, something that they can take with them when they hear this podcast, something for them to take in their journey?
Um, a word of encouragement.
Yeah, encouragement, tools. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I think one of the things as a woman to woman, I would encourage you to be confident in yourself. Uh, another thing that I would encourage is learn not to compete. The person that you compete with is yourself. Try and be a better person every day in your life. So every day you live, make sure you be a better version of you yesterday. So that would be one of the things I would encourage the other women, sisters that I encourage. And another thing is always know your worth. I think that's one of the things that every woman should understand. Always know that there is a reason you're born and you have a purpose. And find that and make sure that you're doing to fulfill your purpose.
I love it. I really love it. I also believe in that. Yes. Because we were born, we are worth it. Wow. And we can do it. We can do it.
Correct, we can, yes. And yeah, I believe we all are connected and we all can help each other. There's so much in life that when we work together, when we find it, because once you find your purpose in life, I think that's one of the most important things as well. Like, maybe I could continue and then add to this like thing, but one of the things is why I say to find your purpose is because when you find your purpose, life becomes very simple. And that's what all of us have to do. If you have very certain people you're gonna meet, your schedule is really what you don't run around. When you know your purpose, you know how when you the sun when it shines it just shines, but when you put a magnifying glass, it's so strong that it can create a fire, and that's how purpose is. When you know your purpose, you become so effective and you will be able to fulfill your purpose.
Wow. Your energy is very focused on that and then your goals. Yeah. Wow. Amazing. Amazing. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for being.
Thank you for having me.
In this journey and good luck for
Thank
your
you.
next step in your life.
Thank you.
Okay.